Oh, yeah, I see it. All right, let's talk about, if you're okay with that, I would like to talk about in-home sales, what customers want and what they need to be able to say yes. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Customer needs. And these should apply to every single thing, anything you could sell. So these roofs, bathrooms, not cars, it's in-home sales stuff, okay? So I'm writing on a notepad here. Let's make a list. What's the first thing a customer needs to buy something? Would you say desire? I would say desire, whether inherent desire or desire you plant, either way, desire for your product.
Well, like, if you're talking about the needs analysis, customers always need different things in order to buy, right? And the needs analysis is like something we do in the warm-up, right? We go in the house, we start talking to them about, their Corvette or the pictures on the wall or whatever it might be. And then at a certain point, we turn the conversation around and say, okay, well, what brings me in today? Have you guys been looking for a new shower for how long now?
Yeah.
What has me coming into your home?
And everyone needs, look, I get that everyone is going to need something different, but generally for this conversation, I want to talk about what does every single customer needs the same thing, I think, in terms of getting to a yes, generally speaking. Like sometimes, like Tyler told me a story, he had a customer who, was it Tyler? No, my buddy Ryan had a customer. He was selling a garage door, and it had windows on it, and she thought the ghosts were getting in through the windows, so she wanted a new garage door without windows, right? So everyone's going to have a lot of people are going to have something very niche, and you'll find that exactly what you're saying in your needs analysis early on and get your hot buttons, which are what you want to push on to get a sale. But in terms of like general overlying needs of a customer, right? Desire, I would say, is one, a want for your product. Urgency, a feeling that they need to act, right? So I'm going to write urgency down. Would you agree with the first two we have, desire and urgency?
Yep.
Urgency. Now, the third one is I might need some help getting it into a specific word, but the feeling that this is a good bargain for them. This is a good, they are not losing. They need to feel like they're winning here. Does that make sense?
So a sale is always made when the value exceeds the cost, is I believe what you're getting at.
Exactly. And I've been working with a new, trying to build a new handle for objections. A lot of it from hearing other people do it and kind of trying to mold it into my own. But what I'm trying to get at is value versus cost, right? So when a customer says, oh, this is just a lot of money, we need to think about it, before I get to the meat and bones and actually give something up to them to try to close them, I've been trying to work on a sentence like something like, it's a lot of money. Okay. So, I mean, let me ask you a question. You went to a supermarket, you're not going to spend $30 for a gallon of milk, are you? That's a lot of money, right? Okay, I understand it's expensive. Well, let me ask you, how much did you buy this house for? You've been here 15 years. $200,000. Wow, that's insane. What's this house worth now? Okay, that's incredible. That's a great investment, okay? If you didn't own this house and it was still worth $475 right now and someone offered it to you for $100,000, would you buy it? Easily, right? You wouldn't consider that expensive, right? It's a great deal. You're making money. Okay, so it's not necessarily the dollar amount that's dictating if something's expensive. It's what you perceive the value to be. You know what I mean? So that really just ties into what you're saying. A customer needs to feel it's not necessarily about the dollar amount. It's about what is this worth to them? You know what I mean? So
yeah, because everyone's going to tie, value to what's valuable to them, and that has a lot to do with, their background and what's, like, for example, to some people, $100 is a lot of money. To other people, $100,000 is going to be a lot of money.
Yeah. So we have desire, urgency, value. I can't really think of any. Do you have any others? I mean, I think those are really the most important. Desire, I want it, I need it now, urgency, and it's a good deal. Like, I can't really think of anything else.
Yeah, I mean, they have to want it. They have to want the product. They have to trust your company. They have to like and trust you. And then, of course, they have to see the value, the money part. Does the value exceed the cost?
Yeah. Okay, so let's look at this.
So really those four things.
What's the fourth thing? Desire or rapport? Are you talking about rapport?
I'm talking about
trust.
You, the product, the company, and then the money or the value.
Yeah, so I'll put trust then, because trust is you, the company. It's both, right? They trust you, they trust the company. So desire, urgency, value, trust, not necessarily in that order. And most sales, so let's talk about sales processes, because I figure most people that are going to be listening to this have no idea what a sales process is. So a sales process is going to be a series of actions you're going to take that you'd be trained on that are going to get you desire, urgency, value, and trust in a customer. That's the idea of a sales process.
It's a methodology to which you are following a line. At the end of the line, you have a sale. And throughout that methodology, you are eliminating objections that are going to come up at the end if you don't handle those objections in the beginning.
Yeah. So that's a good example. Let me give you some objections I think you're going to get if you fail to get one of these. So if you fail to get value, you're going to get a price objection that you can't break through. Would you agree, Chad?
Yeah, so like,
Price
and I want to think about it is really just saying, hey, I think it's too expensive. I think it's too much money.
Generally. Sometimes it can be something else. It's your job to get it from I want to think about it to a price, right? But for example...
Well, let's just say they come out and say, we thought it was going to be way less. It's way too much money.
Yeah, that's perfect. I'd love to hear that, because I mean, at least you have it to price. Now you can reduce it to the ridiculous, meaning you can be like, look, what did you think what were you expecting when I got here, right? Let's say you're at $12,000. Hopefully they're not like $3,000. If they say that, you're fucked. But hopefully, well, you're not fucked, but hopefully they say something like $8,000. Okay, so we're $4,000 apart. I mean, you said you plan on living here for the rest of your life, right? I mean, realistically, guys, that's like 50 cents a day for a dream shower, something you told me you need. Are you really going to let 50 cents a day get in the way of you, your safety, and something you'd love to see in your house? Hopefully you get them on that, right? You'll get some people there. But at least if you have it to a price objection, you potentially still have more ammo, right? Maybe you have a discount left. Or you can remove things off of what they've built to get it to their dream price or get it closer. And that's when you're going to use like a if you could. I know I'm kind of all over the place, but that's when you're going to use like I like to use and if I could, would you, right? So let's say it's an if I could, would you statement. So let's say their dream price is $8,000, you're at $12,000, you have no more discounts to give, your bottom line, but you could remove.
The only thing to do from there is to build value up to $12,000.
Which you should have done already, right? It's hard to do it once
Right.
you've given a price. So hopefully.
So now what you have to do is loop back around to do exactly that.
Yeah, and if you can remove something, you know what I mean? Like if you can remove, like especially in home sales, most things have a ton of add-ons, right? And it can be tough to remove stuff because you've built a love.
So that's kind of like I would say that's kind of like a Band-Aid tactic, right? And that's something that we've all done before a lot. So for example, if they don't really need shower doors, you can always say like, look, we can come back and do the shower doors later. The thing is, once you put on the shower doors, you can't take them off. So wouldn't it make more sense to just move forward without the shower doors, which is going to save you $2,000. And if you decide that later on you want to add those doors, well, we can come back, add them on at any time in the future, and you'll get a discount.
Exactly.
So it only makes sense to start without those shower doors. Now that gets us $2,000 closer. And let's say if there's something else you can take off that they don't really need, now obviously never try to take something off that they need, because now you're just reducing value when in fact we're trying to add value.
Well, you can use that, though. You can use that. I like that you said that, because you can be like, you can use that to get another tie down, right? If if they had you out there and they need a seat in their shower, you could be like, guys, I mean, we've talked about, I mean, I can't just move the price. We could remove this seat. That would save you money. And they're going to say, no, I need that. You know what I mean? No, we need the seat. Okay, I understand. You guys need the seat, so it sounds like you see the value. It sounds like you understand. Well, I just need your authorization right here. Try to move forward through there, which is a total offer concept. So that's when you bring things up that they don't want to remove in order for them to build their own value in it. Mm-hmm. Which would be what you just said is offering
It's like
things.
breaking down, like, look, the installation is going to be several $1,000s. The labor is going to be this. We also have, of course, we're going to have permitting. We're going to have, warranties. That's valued at this. And now we're slowly taking the price and we're splitting it up by all the things that are adding value to it that they said that they wanted and needed earlier in the conversation. So now that totals up to $12,000. Now you can say, look, that other company you said was $4,000 cheaper. I know you said that this lifetime warranty was important to you. Well, of course, we already know that they don't offer that same warranty. So how much is it really worth to you to save $3,000, $4,000 now, knowing that, 8 to 10 years you're going to have to do this project again? And gosh, I'm sure you know about inflation. How much do you think this is going to cost in 8 to 10 years from now versus just spending only $12,000 doing it right now?
Yeah, another term, for customers who it's a lifetime home, is like age in place for products that are going to increase safety. You can always say, you want to age in place. You don't want to have to leave. But what I wanted to talk about, Chad, I've got it written down. What out of every customer, out of 10 customers you have, Chad, how many of them are going to give you an objection before saying yes? Would you say
8 or 9 out of 10?
I would say 9. Yeah, 8 or 9. We'll just call it 9. 9 out of 10 customers. Okay. Now, what objection are you going to narrow it to every time? What's your goal?
You always want to narrow it to price.
Exactly. So 90% of your customers are going to give you something. It does not matter really what they say. The objection is you want to transfer it to price. Now, for people who haven't worked in sales or people who are new to sales, Chad, let's talk about why we'd want to narrow it to a price objection. So, for example,
so basically, what happens
you
is
go.
if you don't narrow it to price, there's too many ways, specifically with a one-call close, that people can escape or get out of the funnel that we're trying to put them in. So, for example, at the end of the presentation, we want them to buy the same day. Well, we can only do that if we figure out the right product for them, we figure out that we're the right company, we do all of these things, and we narrow it down the price. Because if we don't, for example, if we skip steps in the process that, of course, we teach, people can just say things like, well, I want to have more companies come out, or, well, I'm not really sure about your product. I kind of want to see about tile. I'm also kind of looking at maybe doing fiberglass. If we don't kill all of those other options before we get to the close and talk about the money, then that gives them too many options to wiggle out of the sale. But if we narrow it down to just affordability and price at the very end, we get all the commitments and tie downs to get to that point. Now we can start to negotiate on the same level as the customer. The one call close is all about narrowing down the ways that they can get out at the very end. You want to really tie them down to the floor, essentially, so that you can handle just one thing at a time.
Yeah, it's like walking down a hallway. You open the door, you're walking down a hallway that's got all these doors on this, and as you do your presentation, you're closing these doors, right? So you're closing all these objections, and the last door they should have is price objection. And the reason we want it to be a price objection, like you're saying, Chad, is because a price objection is the easiest thing, I would say, to convince a customer to move forward through. Like if a customer says, I just don't like the product, can you imagine how hard that would be to get them to buy it? It's pretty much impossible, right?
Because now you have to justify the product, and they're like, well, the product is worth it for this price. It's like, no, you're not going to do that at the very end.
Yeah.
At the very end, it's a lot easier to go to when you're talking about price. Now you're talking about financing options. You're talking about how it's only, $100 a month or whatever it might be. And now we can start to rationalize and justify that at the very end.
Exactly, right? Like you can convince a customer, or you can get a customer to agree, like, look, we can afford $185 a month. Can you get a customer to agree? Once they've said that they just don't see why they should have to buy today, like they can wait 6 months, right? You can get them out of that, but it's a lot harder to deal with that objection than $185 a month. Because, especially with objections, right, it's way easier to handle them before the customer gives you them. Once a customer gives you an objection, you have to kind of be adversarial. You're on the other side, right? Ideally, you don't want them to feel that way. You want them to feel like you're on their side. But in reality, you're arguing with them from the other's point of view. But if you handle an objection before it is one, you're not on that other side. You're on their side, in their head, with them, and they agree, oh, I'm not going to give you that objection. Rather than, here's my objection, and now you have to be like, well, wait a minute. And it's harder to get through it. That's why sales processes are designed to kill objections before you get them, right? That's why, for example, let's say you're doing roofing. When you do a walk around with the customer and you're pointing out all the issues they have with their roof, you're going to get a commitment. Hey, like, whether it's me or Randy or someone else, like, this is something you're going to take care of in the near future, right? Like this is definitely something you're going to take care of. And you're doing that. What do you think you're doing? You're handling that objection now. And the customer is going to agree with you. You point out all the issues. They're like, yeah, I am going to do this soon. Now, at the end of the presentation, what's more likely? You think they're going to be like, we just want to wait a year? Or are they going to give you a price objection? They're probably going to give you a price objection.
No doubt the best salespeople are going to get all those commitments, because really what the commitment is, like when you ask that question, and that's all sales is, it's just talking and asking questions and listening. When you ask those questions, what it does is it takes you from here to here, and then the next commitment takes you to here, and then here, and it just slowly funnels down. And you're allowing the customer to agree with you, and you can do that in a non-adversarial way. Like, Ethan, whether you work with us or someone else, can you at least promise me this is something you're going to get taken care of?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, of course. That's why we're looking into this in the first place.
Yeah. Okay. So narrowing it down, we're talking about narrowing it down to price objections. About 9 out of 10 customers are probably going to give you an objection. And then handling the price objection, and we don't need to get into specifics now on that, because that's like probably it's a whole thing. You could go on for hours on how to handle price objections, because I think it really depends on what you're selling, what your price range is, all that. Like, for example, Chad, like with solar, right? You have a whole different way of handling it. You know what I mean? Than I do.
I mean, it's pretty similar. I mean, the whole idea of solar is like, look, this is going to replace your current electric bill with something that's typically the same. Like, you're going to get an even swap. So instead of spending $100 to ComEd or whatever utility company you have, you're going to spend $100 to the bank to finance your solar panels. In a lot of cases, though, with all these like in the state of Illinois, you have state credits and you also have federal credits on top of that. In some places, you also have local credits as well. So basically what that means is you can get a solar bill that's less than your current utility. Well, a lot of people go, well, I don't want to add more debt to my plate. I don't want to necessarily spend more money. Well, you're not spending more money. You're actually saving money right away. Because you don't really choose whether or not you pay for electricity. You're always going to, unless you want to put candles around the house, you're always going to pay for electricity. So would you rather own that electricity or rent it from your utility company?
Yeah.
And that's why really, solar has been growing so much for the last couple of years. It just is kind of a no-brainer decision for a lot of homeowners.
Well, let's talk about what I think, and I think we agree on this, the most important thing in any sales job across the entire industry, medical sales, every type of sales, the most important thing, right, rapport. Let's talk about...
So what is rapport, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll steal it from...
There's
you got
so
it.
many salespeople have like different definitions of rapport.
Uh-huh.
So I think when most people think of rapport, they're thinking about like becoming a person that likes them, right? That they could sit down and have a beer with. And I thought that too when I was new to selling, and it's part of it. You have to be a person that can be liked and trusted, but more importantly, you also have to be respected.
Yeah, trust and respect, right?
Trust and respect.
Yeah, and I'm taking that from Dave Yoho, I think, at Associates, but it rings true. I would agree. And the reason it's the most important, I mean, just think about it, right? Like, you walk into a house, you build rapport. Can you imagine how much easier it is to do what else you have to do, right? You need to build urgency. You need to kill other options. You need to show them the product. If they don't like you, it's going to be an uphill battle. If they like you, it's a lot easier to do everything else in the process. That's why rapport is the most important. Without it, it's very hard. You can sell without rapport, but it's extremely, extremely difficult. And it's even more difficult to sell same day without rapport. Like, rapport is extremely important for same day sales.
And the rest of the process doesn't work unless you have rapport.
Yeah.
So if rapport is likability and respect, how do you get that likability and respect? Obviously, when you go into the house and you sit down, you're looking around the house, you're looking at the paintings on the wall, you're looking for like family portraits, you're asking about family, about the house, things that you have in commonality, but that's just half the equation. The other half of the equation in building rapport is also that respect, like we talked about, right? So how do you earn that respect? How do you become the expert that in their eyes? So that's also going to be then taking place in the inspection.
Yeah,
so when we're looking at...
Well, being genuine,
when we're looking at the shower, yeah.
Being genuine is how you get respect, in my opinion. So I love rapport, and I could talk about this forever. The thing about rapport, okay, the customers that I close where there was no question they're buying from me, are the customers that I had perfect rapport with. Like, we were friends, real friends in 30 minutes, right? And the way you do that with people is being genuine. So you have questions like, oh, I love that painting. What is that? Where'd you get that? Blah, blah, blah. Those are general questions every salesman's going to ask, and you need to ask those while you're calculating and collecting yourself and figuring out what is my approach here. But when you can be genuine with a person, it really breaks down. It doesn't even feel like a sales process anymore.
Let me give you an example. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a big bird person, so whenever I would go into somebody's house and they had like like some kind of like bird, like it could have been like a parrot or something, my closing rate with that person or that family was like 100%.
Yeah.
Like if they had like an African gray, I'd be like, oh, that's an awesome African gray. Like, and you know, and your tonality and your enthusiasm comes off to the customer that you genuinely care about them and what they have.
Yeah, it's called a transfer of enthusiasm. If you can transfer enthusiasm into the customer, it's so much easier to close them. That's why like eccentric extroverts are really, really good at sales. If you can transfer your energy into someone, like, dude, I'm here to sell you a shower. Like, this is not exciting. No, like, this is a shower. If I can get them excited about it, because I'm excited about something we're talking about, like, dude, they're going to be more attentive. They're going to be involved. And when they're involved, you're going to close them. Like, what did I tell you about that one customer, right? People who don't want to play the game, like people who call you out but won't participate, dude, you want to fucking blow your brains out. You're in there for an hour and a half, 2 hours. They're giving you one-word answers. Like, their sales distance is sky high. It's so hard. But every person, it doesn't matter who they are, you can break them down and be their friend. If you can, you will sell them most of the time. And being genuine, like you're talking about with parrots, like it's something you love, you're passionate about, and you can speak on it. So what's the takeaway here? You need to be collected, and you need to be analytical, and you need to think about where am I going with this. That's one of my biggest weaknesses is I just talk a lot of the time. I just go, and I'm like, let's see where this goes. But ideally, you want to be like, where's my best area of approach for rapport here? And if you can do that, like walking up to the house, seeing, oh, they have a "Don't Tread on Me" flag. This person's a Republican. They have a UT flag. This person's a volunteer fan, right? And moving through that, and if you can be an expert in that, like dude, I live in Tennessee. I should 100% know every player on the University of Tennessee. I should. I don't.
You should.
I should, but I don't. Because that'll make you in a year in an area like this. That's like giving myself a $50,000 raise, probably. You know what I mean? Like it's all these things that make you money. Like, would you sit down for 2 hours and learn every player's name if it meant you'd make 50 grand?
My very first bath sale, and this is interesting. I know absolutely nothing about college football, but my very first bath sale, it was the fall of 2021, and it was right after. I don't know if you remember this, Ethan, but there's this big controversy where the fans at UT were throwing like bottles and crap onto the field, and this was like all over the news. So I walk into this house on, I think it was like Monday afternoon or Monday night, and it was like on the TV, and I don't know anything about this. Mm-hmm. I just saw it on TV, and I look at the TV and go, "How about that?"
Yeah.
And you just let the customers throw up on you. I don't know any players. I don't know anything. You look at that, go, man, isn't that just disappointing how they were behaving?
Yeah.
And then they just start talking about, because they were big UT fans. So that's how I, was able to sell my first shower, was just through that rapport of, the college football game that I didn't even watch.
Well, yeah, and we've said rapport is what? Trust and respect, those two things. What's the average closing rate on a normal appointment, Chad, in sales, would you say?
About 30 to 40%.
Okay, and then what's the average closing rate on referrals?
75.
Yeah, I would probably say like 65 to 75 in there. Why is that? Because there's more trust inherently.
Yep.
So if you can, and that's not even all of rapport, right? You got to work on the trust with yourself, but there's more trust in the company, which helps you.
But really, what is that though? It's like, why do people trust people that they've done business with before? Because they've seen the process before. There's no uncertainty.
Yep.
Because what is going on in the psychology of the person's mind when they just met you and they've never bought from you before? Is this going to work? Is this guy going to rip me off? Is he going to steal from me? Is he going to do what he says he's going to do?
Yeah.
So that's where, then other parts of the process come into play that, of course, we'll teach and we'll talk about. Like the company story, for example. Like, why is our company reputable? All these other things. People want to know that they got the best price and the best value. What happens if you buy something, but then you find the exact same thing for $2,000 to $3,000 cheaper?
Yeah.
You're going to feel kind of ripped off. So you have to reassure that customer, like, hey, look, this is why the prices are what they are, and this is all, again, sprinkled throughout the process so that you can close at the very end.
And let's talk about like, you're not the most extroverted person out there, Chad. You know,
I'm not.
Yeah, you're not.
I'm a natural introvert.
But you're very good at building rapport. And let's talk about that, because I feel like a lot of people, especially people who would watch this, like a lot of you guys are probably introverted and you have some social anxiety. Here's the thing. Being extroverted or appearing extroverted can be taught and can be learned.
You don't have to even appeal. You don't even have to even appear like you're extroverted. You just have to be that. The reason why a lot of introverts are good salespeople is because they're good listeners.
Yeah.
And that's actually really how rapport is built, not by talking, but by listening to people, their problems, and solving their problems. That's really how to solve your rapport problem.
Yeah.
Because, Ethan, if you're telling me about, your problems with not being able to walk, maybe you had like a knee replacement or something, I don't need to tell you why I'm the greatest salesperson ever. I need to listen to you and use tactical empathy to understand what you're going through to then provide you with a solution that's right for you.
Yeah, I like that, tactical empathy. And one thing I would recommend for people who like struggle, if you want to get into sales and you're a little nervous, I would say one of the biggest, actually probably the biggest thing people are nervous about moving into a sales field is like being good at talking to people and not being cringe. If you're worried about that, there's like a lot of stuff you can do before you even get a sales job. Like, tell yourself when you wake up in the morning, I'm going to maintain eye contact with people today. Just try that, dude, and see how different your day goes. It's a lot more intimate when you're looking in someone's eyes, not sexually, just intimate. Like it's more of a this is an actual conversation. It's almost like if you've ever played like a video game that has dialogue options. Maintaining eye contact is like actually picking the dialogue instead of just skipping through it, right? And you can do multiple things. Do that. Actually greet people, at Starbucks. How was your day going? And talk to them using the video chats online. The random ones like Omegle and stuff, and actually trying to have conversations with people. Now, I don't recommend this for everyone. I don't need to do it because I can talk to people. But if you struggle with that, like that's
I never find any normal people on Omegle anyway.
Yeah, you're gonna have to skip through a lot of penises, but there are normal people there. There are normal people, and you can use them to your advantage. That'll help get you prepared. Because I know a lot of people do struggle with that. Again, I don't, but I know a lot of people do. So if you do, those are things you can do to get better, and that'll help you in every area of your life.
Ethan, it's kind of a chicken or an egg game, because I used to be the kind of person to never look anyone in the eye, and that's how I was before, joining my first, doing my first sales job. But after, selling, over 200-300 showers, now, like, I can go to the cashier, and this is something, from a long time ago. You kind of never make eye contact. You have all these bad social habits, but then after selling so many people, now you build up your confidence, and now I can look anyone in the eye and have a conversation.
Oh, dude, and it's contagious, bro. It's contagious.
Yeah.
I'll be in public, and, like, I'm a sales guy, but, like, sometimes you'll just meet someone, and they'll just be like, hey, how are you? And they just look you. They have a presence, okay? And that presence is confidence, okay? It's contagious. And where does that help you in sales? It helps you seem like the expert. It really does. If you're confident in yourself, people trust you. That's why con men exist. That's why there's a lot of fucking people that do influencing like online who sell shit, like Andrew Tate, dude. He's the most confident guy in the world. What's his product? It's fucking trash. Like, how many people have gotten rich on Hustlers University, Chad? 0 people.
Yeah, probably not that many. I mean, I joined that, and I did I did a lot of stock option trading for a while, so like I know how all that stuff works, and like what they were teaching was like really nothing that was going to make you that much money. Plus, there's a lot of luck that's involved in that, so it's really more or less just selling an idea, not actual results.
Selling yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I'm getting at. Everyone who's listening to this, I know for a fact you know what I'm talking about. When you meet someone and they have a presence, man, that could be you. Just do it. Just stop being a turtle, man. That's all it is. That could be you. And it bleeds into every aspect of your life. Every aspect is better. It helps you at the DMV get through faster because the person likes you. It helps you everywhere, bro. It helps you get laid. It does help you get laid. But that's a whole different thing, dude. Selling women, That's a whole different ballgame. I think the trick with that, and I don't know if you take my advice or not, but the trick with that, I think, is just not caring if you close the deal or not. Actually, that works in sales too. People can smell your commission
Very
breath.
true.
Yeah, people can smell if you're desperate for commission, and women can smell if you're thinking about boning them right now. So
There's a lot of similarities between sales and dating.
Yeah, so I think the trick is just like, hey man, I have stuff to do today. I'm just talking to you for a minute, like, I don't care. But if you're up there and you're fucking desperate, you're simping for them. Women don't want simps. That is a lie. They do not want simps. They don't. And customers don't want simps either. That's why we were saying be genuine, because customers know when you're simping. When you're like, oh my God, that is the most incredible piece of silverware I've ever seen. They're going to be like, the fuck is this guy talking about? So you got to try to be
very
genuine.
authentic.
Yeah, try to be authentic, genuine, and that's hard. It is hard. Like it's not always easy to be genuine. You walk into a trailer there's not much to talk about. It's hard to find similarities, but that's why I think if you take the number one person in the world, the best person in a rapport, he's going to be a top 5% salesman. Like he just will. Because
that's when you obviously you don't want to say, if you walk into a shitty trailer, you don't want to be like, wow, what a beautiful house. You go, wow, it's such a peaceful neighborhood.
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah.